afternoon of Story Talkies. The monsoon is here. It's raining and a lot of breeze around. And with this breeze, there are new discussions that you would hear around. Gone are the days of paper boards, a lot of automation, a lot of AI around. And I think as marketers, we are also evolving and we're using technology quite a lot. But at the essence of it, we still look at connecting with our customers come what may. And to discuss this today, we have Ganga Ganapathi with us. She has been a marketer and communication specialist for, I think, more than 2 decades now. And she has been heading the marketing, communication, advertising roles in various organizations. Currently, she is leading the marketing function at Epsilon. And it's a pleasure to speak to you, Ganga.
Thanks for having me, Nidhi.
Let's begin with what's happening around in the market. There's a lot of discussion, lots of excitement, at the same time, a lot of apprehension about the AI that is coming into the picture, in the way marketers are approaching it. It's either you are like all out, wow, this is great. The other side is also, is there something that is missing? Should I do it? Should I not do it? So what's your take on it?
I think change is always good. And as humans, there is an inherent need to improve, to make life easier for us so that we find time to do other things. And those other things could again be to do with more technology, to do more with more innovation. But I think the curiosity that has existed in us ever since, we evolved into the humans that we are, that's just taking its natural course. Today, we are surrounded by technology, so all of the innovation, so much of the innovation that we are seeing, is in that space.
When you talk about marketing, the kind of innovation that we have seen, it's been quite. It's like it just happened in a fast few months, if not weeks. How do marketers make sense of it? How are we walking fast enough, or are we just kind of moving with the crowd and not standing and thinking how do it actually aligns to what I am doing at this moment? So how do you see it around?
I'd say as a marketer, it would seem like everything has changed. But actually, if you dig deep, possibly nothing has changed. Right? I feel nothing has changed ever since humans had a need to trade and exchange goods and services with each other. What was true then is true even today. We've all studied Kotler in our marketing courses in college. And I remember on the very first page, right? And it's possibly the only thing I remember in such vivid detail from that book, saying when you buy a hammer or hire a carpenter, what are you actually buying? You're not buying a hammer, you are buying a hole in the wall on which you're going to hang a beautiful painting and make your house come alive. When I buy makeup, for example, I'm buying the hope that it'll help me bring out the best side of how I look, or the best version of myself. And if you look at this sort of need for solutions that have already always existed in us, nobody wants to be sold to, right? We want to have our problem solved. And as marketeers, it's so important to remember that we're talking to people like us on the other side. And therefore, I feel the way we reach out to, consumers, customers, prospects, whatever the word that we use, nothing has changed in the way we want to tell our story or want to be perceived. And you know this better than me, Nidhi. You're immersed in stories all the time. What has changed, and this has changed over the years, not just today, is how we reach out to these people. Right? At one time, it would have been the very rudimentary version of newspapers and print that we knew. It gave way to radio, which gave way to television, which gave way to digital. Right? And today, what has changed is our ability to target has probably become a lot better. Our ability to test and learn, our ability to look for exact measurements to drive the ROI that we need. What hasn't changed is what you do on these media. What hasn't changed is how we need to find the value exchange that sort of makes the transaction relevant and not just a one-off. And yeah, that's what has changed and not changed in my world, the way I see it.
About the way we talk to our customer or to the audience, which is a much larger spectrum that we can address. One thing that we are now looking at, and which is really happening, and that a lot of people are saying that content as we know it is dead. It's going to be coming from the AI tools and stuff. I understand that for us to connect with the company customer or for the platform that we work in, the basic, if I tell the give a prompt that write something for me that connects to XYZ customer and with this kind of value prop, I do get stories out of that. There's no doubt about it. But what about personalization? What about telling a business story? What about, do you see the change or do you see a progression in the way we are telling business stories? And is it going towards a much more evolved? Is it creating a space for more creativity, or is it creating a very sameness? But and let's look at it from utility and originality perspective. Where is the marketer today?
So I've worked in advertising almost all of my adult or working life, right? And we've grown being in awe of people who could take a little insight and turn it into a series of stories that you constantly want to watch. Not just because the proposition is so clear, it's just so entertaining, and you love being surrounded by that sort of creativity. I think at the heart of it, that kernel of using a truth to tell a bigger story hasn't changed. It cannot change. That's what drives advertising and the execution of marketing, the last mile that customers are really going to see. But as we get better with the use of data and technology and live in an increasingly data driven world on all sides, right? Customers or prospects share their data with businesses in the hope of getting better service, right? Businesses collect this data in the hope of providing that better service. And when that happens, when this sort of plan is seamlessly executed, everyone is happy. And how this expectation on both sides is met successfully is how well you're able to use the available data and technologies that are at your fingertips. uh, I think of when I was in some of the most creative places that I've ever worked in, and think of, my God, if at that time I had access to the kind of knowledge I have today about how data and technology can be used to tell those stories, and like, how different would the world have been? I also look at how advertising is executed today, and sometimes it really hurts to think that the best stories that are being told out there are only being seen by us on LinkedIn and YouTube because a friend has shared it or someone you know has won an award, and that's how you're seeing it. How many of the actual customers who need to act on it and provide ROI for that investment in creativity are actually seeing it? Because somehow the two worlds are yet to meet. It will happen soon. It's happening in pockets. There are some networks that are really, forward thinking and making all of the right investments, but it hasn't yet reached a critical mass.
The line between the way you do marketing stories, right, and the copies that as an advertiser you would do. The marketers have to start thinking as advertiser as far as the story is concerned, and vice versa. Is that something that's happening today?
At the end of the day, everything is content, right? We might, in our minds, classify something as a print ad or a banner or long form content or a social post. But I don't think consumers care so much either about brands or about communication or advertising. They don't go looking for it. If it pops up in front of them, then it is the power of that piece of content to retain their interest and have them read a little more, and hopefully because it's well designed, they will act on it. But I feel today the need to be creative is at the highest peak that it's ever been, because you get that split second chance of somebody seeing you. So I don't see what I've learned in advertising as not being of use, because even today here, our team is constantly looking for more creative, more compelling ways of saying things, saying it as succinctly as possible, trying to make sure that the entire message is conveyed in the 5 seconds that somebody might spend on you. So it is a great use of everything that I was exposed to when I was in the advertising agency world, and how I'm able to bring those learnings.
Let me come to the listicles then. Anything that you have, like you must have had very interesting moments in your career, in the way you have interacted, what has come to in front of you. Based on that, any 2 or 3 things that you would want to share with marketers today on building their connect with the customers, looking into your experience, what is it that you would want the marketers to focus on, prioritize?
I think I'd say two things, and both of them stem from the same truth. One is, and it's called different things in different agencies, right? But there is something called the brand ideal or the brand truth, where a brand exists to serve the customer in a certain way. And for this, it's so important to find what is it that the customer is lacking, what is it that's going on in their life, which there is a gap that a brand can or a product can fulfill. And then you juxtapose that with everything that the brand is offering up. What are all the different things that are on the table, and how do you pick the one thing that really fulfills this gap? How do you bring the two together and tell a story, right? And today, the advantage the technology offers is, we are not left with just one thing or one story to tell. Fundamentally, of course, a brand has a certain USP, but in the days of TV, constantly you'd say, tell me the one thing you want to say, and I will say it in a 30-second or 40-second TVC, right? Because that was all we had. Today, and the world that I come from, we believe that there are as many markets out there as there are customers, right? You have access to millions of markets of one person each. And it is so possible to unleash your creativity and not have to restrict yourself to just using one proposition or one story, but telling 100 different compelling reasons for why a certain brand can make a difference to a consumer's life.
That's an interesting perspective, right? Million stories for one customer, uh, and it's all engaging. The purpose of all these stories to engage and wow the customer. Uh, great talking to you, Ganga. It's been a pleasure, this conversation. And what I take away from that is that we have technology, we have the ability to crunch data, to understand the customer. So let the technology do the basics, and we have that gives us all the time to be creative. The technology takes care of utility, and originality comes from your experience, your own the niche that you have got. So it's basically complementing and not going against each other. And that's, I think, the opportunity that we marketers and storytellers have. So it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Captured that beautifully. I really want to reiterate what you've said, that our creative people do not have to see technology as competition or something that will make them transactional. It is a step up the ladder of creativity, right? And I really hope everybody takes that away in the way you've said it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ganga. And so this is a wrap on this edition of Story Talkies. We'll come back to you with more stories. And if you want to connect with us, you have our contacts on your screen. Thank you so much.